Dear friends, welcome to the next session for Information Security Fundamentals. So, in today's session, we will be looking at the various remote access protocols which are involved in information security. So, let us get started. So, when we are talking about remote access protocol, we mean those guidelines which are responsible for managing the connection between a remote access server and a remote computer. It is necessary for desktop sharing and remote access for help desk activities. So basically there are two systems which are involved in this communication, and one we call it as a remote access server and the other we call it as the remote access client or the remote computer or the host computer. So it is somewhat similar to when we have a normal interaction for a particular session. So there are various clients who are trying to interact with one particular server or one particular system, and they are trying to establish a communication and send messages across. So this entire system is governed by certain guidelines, and those are known as remote access protocols. So technically remote access protocols are classified into 5 different types. One is known as serial line internet protocol or SLIP. Then we have point to point protocol, which is triple P. Then point to point protocol over Ethernet and point to point protocol over tunneling, as well as we have remote access services and remote desktop protocol. The latest being the remote desktop protocol. However, we cannot rule out the importance of SLIP, PPP or PPP over Ethernet or PP tunneling protocol. So all those things we cannot rule out the importance of that, even though we currently are more accustomed, or organizations are more accustomed basically with the usage of remote desktop protocols. So let us begin with the first one, which is the serial line internet protocol or SLIP. So basically this SLIP was initially developed by Unix, and it is a way of transmitting TCP IP over serial connections. So this is also a restriction related to SLIP because it can be transmitted only over serial connection. It operates both at the data link and the physical layers of the OSI model. We already discussed in our previous sessions there are several layers associated with the transmission of messages, how they are actually converted into bits, frames, packets, and then encrypted, decrypted, and finally they are sent after associating effective error control mechanisms. So all this happens within various different layers of the protocol. So we have physical, data link, network, transmission, session, presentation, and application. So altogether these 7 layers forms the basis of message transmission, and SLIP generally functions in the data link and physical layers of the OSI model. It has a low overhead, that means the associated cost related to establishment and message transmission is less, and as already discussed, it can be transmitted over serial connections. However, it does not feature packet addressing or error checking capabilities. So the addressing mode and the error checking mechanisms are not associated. Therefore, it might not be little reliable for various business organization to send their confidential data. However, for trivial data, they can still use SLIP. And this is basically one of the notable restrictions of SLIP, because as compared to other protocols, the security might be compromised, as well as only since it can transmit over only serial connections, so it might be little disadvantageous from the perspective of transmission. And if we want to set up SLIP for a remote connection in our system, we have to have a SLIP account on our machine, as well as a batch file or a script on the workstation to which we are trying to access. So when we use SLIP to log into a remote machine, we must configure a terminal mode after we have logged it into the remote site. So once we have configured that terminal mode, then only we can ensure that each of the parameters can be accessed. Now if we do not use these scripts to enable terminal modes or configure terminal modes, we have to establish the connection and then open a terminal window so that we can manually log into the remote access server. So this is all about how SLIP actually works. So we have to have a SLIP account, and through that SLIP account we have to create a terminal mode on the remote server, and from the remote server we can then log in and we can make things work, or we can request various messages to be sent. However, we have to make sure that our data is not very important or confidential, because since it will not have any packet addressing or error checking capabilities, there might be a chance that our data might be corrupted. The next important protocol is point-to-point protocol, PPP, and PPPoE, which is over Ethernet. So basically, point-to-point protocol is a remote access protocol which will allow us to implement TCP/IP, which is transmission protocol, control protocol, and internet protocol. So it establishes a connection via point-to-point links. That means, unlike SLIP, which has a serial mode of communication, it has a point-to-point mode of communication. It has a point-to-point mode of communication via dedicated leased lines and dial-up. In our previous early sessions, we discussed about these leased lines and dial-up connections, which are quite fruitful when it comes to transmission of messages. It is mostly used for remote connections to various LANs or various internet service providers. However, for smaller network, it proves to be an effective protocol because we can easily transfer these messages at a faster rate on a proper bandwidth, and using remote connections to LANs and ISPs. So they basically, this point-to-point protocols uses link control protocol, and this link control protocol will be testing the link between the client and the point-to-point protocol host. And it also uses various encryption control protocols and compression control protocols in order to associate the associate various encryption, compression, and encryption negotiation, and also uses various authentication negotiation using the link control using the link control protocol, and it gives much more secured communication as compared to SLIP. So basically, point-to-point protocol, it makes use of link control protocol first to test the connection between the client and the server, and also to ensure authentication negotiation. In addition to that, it uses ECPs and CCPs, which is encryption control protocol and compression control protocol, to enable compression and encryption negotiation between both the parties. Now, this protocol can support multiple network protocols by using protocol specific network control protocols, which is NPCs. So because it can run over numerous physical media types and features error checking functionalities, PPP has almost entirely replaced SLIP. So SLIP was only based on serial mode of communication. Here we have around multiple network protocols which can be implemented using various network control protocols, and it also features error checking functionalities and different physical media types, and that is why it proves more advantageous than conventional SLIP. It can also automatically configure TCP/IP and alternate protocol parameters via IP control protocol NCP. So but although this has several advantages, the disadvantage of this PPP or PPP over Ethernet is that it attracts high overhead, and it is not compatible with certain older versions, which means that it is much more expensive in order to set up, both in terms of infrastructure as well as latency associated or various other parameters which are associated with overhead, and it is not compatible with certain older configurations. So we have to understand that the conventional SLIP was there, which has lower overhead, but it was replaced by point-to-point protocol because it has more advanced features but associated overhead is high. The third point is point-to-point protocol tunneling, point-to-point tunneling protocol, which is PPTP. It is also a remote access protocol based on point-to-point protocol, and it is created by Microsoft. It is used to establish virtual connections across internet via PPP and TCP/IP, enabling two networks to use the internet as their WAN link while retaining the security benefits of the private network. PPTP is a great option because it is simple and secure. Moreover, since it is simple and secure, it can also be implemented the same way as we can implement the PPP or PPP over Ethernet. However, one most advantageous factor is we can consider the wide area network link here, which was not possible in case of PPP or PPP over Ethernet, as they had point-to-point networks for short distances or shorter radiuses. So to use PPTP, you will have to set up a PP session between the server and the client, and usually over the internet. Once the session is established, we can create a second dial-up session, and this dial-up session will use PPTP to dial through the existing PPP session. So we have to understand that initially the connection establishment is important, and after that we can always create a second dial-up session in order to dial through various point-to-point protocols. The primary function of the tunneling protocol is that it tunnels through the existing point-to-point protocol connection, and it basically facilitates the creation of a secure session, which means that we can use internet to create a secure session between the server and the client, and this type of connection is also called a virtual private network and is less expensive than a direct connection. So initially what we had was in point-to-point protocol or point-to-point protocol over Ethernet, we had a direct connection, that is a point-to-point connection between the client to server. Here we have a virtual connection. We can also have a virtual connection, and we call that a virtual private network or a VPN, which is much less expensive than a direct connection. Moreover, it is secure as we can tunnel in through the existing point-to-point connection in order to create a safe and secure session. So it is a good choice for network administrators who wants to connect multiple LANs but don't want to pay for dedicated lease lines. In case of point-to-point protocols or over Ethernet based protocols, we have to pay for dedicated lease lines or connections. Here, however, we do not have to do it. We can create multiple LANs and we need not pay for the dedicated lease lines. But it also has associated disadvantages. However, because till date it is not yet a fully accepted standard, and it is harder to set up than conventional point-to-point protocol, because we need a tunneling mechanism within this point-to-point protocols, and most importantly it is not available on all server types. So only those servers which are capable of providing a tunneling effect with the existing point-to-point protocols, we can use only those servers in order to implement this point-to-point tunneling protocol. Then we have remote access services, which was developed by Microsoft and Windows 2000 and Windows NT. It lets the users dial up a server and connect to both server and the server's host network. It is known as remote access services, and it is used in smaller networks. This is important. We can use remote access services in smaller networks where dedicated dial-up router would not be possible or practical. With an RAS setup, you can connect a modem to a Windows 2000 or NT server and configure the modem as a dial-out only or dial-up only, or a combination of the two. So we can easily create our own network using this Windows 2000 or Windows NT server by making use of remote access services. And most importantly, it is for smaller network and can only provide LAN access to the remote users. When it comes to wide area network or a wireless area network, the entire protocol fails. the most important and the current protocol that is been currently used is remote desktop protocol. So this gives a feeling of working on a remote machine as you are working on your own machine. It is very much similar to independent computing architecture, which is ICA protocol by Citrix products. So ICA protocol is basically that protocol which gives you the look and feel of a product which is capable of hosting your terminal or hosting your machine in their own interfaces. So it is utilized to access Windows Terminal Services, which is close relative of the product line provided by Citrix WinFrame. So Citrix WinFrame is it's basically an organization which is dealing with this kind of remote desktop protocols or remote desktops, and they provide this kind of desktops so that we can host our machine, or we can host some other machines into their remote desktop, and we can work from any part of the world. So it offers some core functions such as independent computing architecture, through which you will be able to perform almost all functionalities which is capable, or which you are capable of doing in your own system. Although there are some limitations, this RDP provides remote access for Windows client only, while ICA can provide access for numerous platforms. So basically, when you're talking about remote desktop protocols, it offers the same functions as ICA, but generally it will provide more functionality towards Windows based machines. However, since it also implements some part of ICA protocol, it also has the potential of providing access to multiple numerous platforms. It offers support for automatic client updates, publishing an app to a web browser, and much more. So all of this together can be done using the remote desktop protocol with efficient error handling mechanisms and lesser overhead. So remote desktop protocol is one of the most latest and most in protocol which is currently being used by not only business organizations but various organizations across the world. So that is all from remote access protocol. Thank you.